I think maybe another plant in the background would be good for you as well.
Yeah, not
I'm
enough
all about
plants.
symmetry, and it's kind of throwing me out. Like my head is tilting this way because I'm
Yeah. Let me
going
but
perfect.
not in the foreground probably, right? More like in the background here.
Well, no, actually, in front of your face is even
Oh,
better.
right here? Is this good?
Yeah, that's even better.
And then I can do like fun stuff. We can start the show by like me kind of
There you go.
hearing through them like that.
Cool voice, like welcome. And
It's behind two ferns. It's not between two ferns. Let's just jump in then. So Brendan Lewis is the EVP of Global Communications and Public Affairs at Oatly, makers of oat milk and other oat milk products. Brendan, welcome to our little show here.
Thank you, Matt. It's great to be here, and I look forward to having a very instructive and educational discussion with you.
We're going to blow some minds, and if we don't, then that's their problem.
Really, there's only two minds that we need to worry about blowing, and that's our own.
Right here. Yep.
Yeah.
And that might be the only two people that listen to this or watch this, but that's okay.
Now, my wife will. I'll make
Okay,
her.
cool. So will mine. My mom will too. She's a very big advocate. For those who don't know, I feel like everybody probably knows what Oatly or has seen it on the shelves, but what's Oatly all about?
Yeah, we're a company that makes oat milk, which is a non-dairy alternative to cow's milk. Our mission is to reduce the world's reliance on cow dairy. Overall, it's better for people. The majority of the Earth's population is lactose intolerant, and very much so. It's better for the planet as well. It takes a lot less resources to grow oats than it does, say, feed an entire herd of cows that are purely for milking. We're available in over 30 countries around the world. We operate on multiple continents. We have factories on multiple continents, and we have a full line of products. It isn't just the oat milk. We offer non-dairy frozen desserts. We offer in the United States, we just introduced cream cheese. We have cooking creams. We've got a number of products. In China, we've got a whole suite of products that are germane to that market as well. So we're a big company in a lot of ways, but we're still a small big company, which is a great place to work.
For sure. I feel like it feels like you're a small big company when just like kind of interacting on social with I follow different people at Oatly. What do you think? What was kind of like the conversation when the wood milk commercial came out? Like, were you guys like chuckling and having a good time with that, or what was the reaction?
I mean, it came out, and I think our initial response is like, well, one, we got to keep an eye on this. Obviously,
Yeah.
Our brand voice is one as such where we're like, we probably shouldn't let this go unresponded to.
Right.
We did initially, our social team, our community team, and our social team, who are brilliant, responded back to Aubrey Plaza and said, blink twice if you're okay, sort of thing. Thought about like,
right. They have
really formally respond to this because it is, it was so trite. Okay, we're going to hire a big celeb and we're going to do this big thing. It just seemed like it came from the mind of like a big PR firm. Like, this is how we're going to get the activation going. But then we noticed the community just started ripping the whole thing to the point where they turned off comments, and then it kind of slinked away. And I think that kind of shows a little bit about people's taste and where they're moving. Nobody wants to be condescended down to. Nobody wants to be told what they're doing is wrong, or have things that they love be made fun of in that manner, in a disrespectful manner. So when that hit, we kind of kept an eye on it. And then after a day, we're like, okay, we're just gonna let this take its course. Like, we don't need to add anything to the conversation above anything else, because the people have taken care of it, which I think is a really neat thing, because it wasn't just necessarily Oatly consumers doing it. It was a lot of people, because at the end of the day, this was big dairy making fun of alternative milks, completely ignoring why people might consume alternative milks, soy, coconut, what have you. So it was taking a jab at all of it. And I think people were probably looking towards Oatly again, given our brand voice. Wonder what those guys are going to do. But we didn't have to, because the community really, frankly, took care of it on its own.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, you can see that in the comments. You can see that like in just like reaction videos that are just like the whole YouTube like reaction video world was like that was like some of those are some of the biggest videos that I found.
And purely entertaining. I loved reading all of it, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, I want to talk more about just some of the marketing and some of the brand voice and the things that you guys do at Oatly because I've been so excited to talk to you about this stuff because it's just so different and refreshing compared to like what people are used to. But your current title is EVP. So talk a little bit about Brendan here. It sounds very important. And your LinkedIn section about your experience, is we've got a lot of reputable companies in high up positions. So, but I did see that there's a woodworking student as part of that. So how does that play into your career development?
So I took a bit of a sabbatical before I joined Oatly. I took about I don't want to say a year. I intended on taking a year off, but Oatly kind of came in, and that was an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. I had found, and there's a couple of pieces of advice that I give people professionally along the way. One of the major ones is if you say something through an exhale, don't do it. And I found myself, yeah, I've worked at a lot of really great places, but also at the end of the day, it needs to be a right place for you and culture fit, and it needs to be a good place to work at. And I found myself over time, I had worked at a couple of places that weren't necessarily better than where I was working at the time, but I was going to a place that was, frankly, less shitty. And there's a big difference there, right?
Yeah.
There's a big difference between something being better and something being less shitty. And, I had a couple of very tough years along my career, and I realized that I probably needed to take a little bit of time off and just get off of this merry-go-round of insanity, if you will. And, I talked it over with my wife, and we both decided that we would take sabbaticals at the same time. We had a number of things going on. And I said, I just want to completely get out of what I've been doing. I've been at this game for, 25 or so years. I just needed to take a rest and figure out what I wanted to do. And so woodworking is something that I, had always loved doing, but got away from. Life got in the way. And I just treated that as my career. And I just took classes, built stupid little things, built a footstool for my daughter to reach the bathroom sink, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it just allowed me to completely detach myself a little bit from it. And during that time, I almost looked at it as a Whole30 diet for my career. I completely zeroed everything out and then started adding things back in. And a lot of the companies that I've been working for were tech adjacent or tech companies. And that just has its own series of trials and tribulations that go with it. And I realized I was really tired of that. And what do I want to do? And that allowed me to have a couple of realizations. And I wanted to work for a company that mattered, not a company that was creating a solution in search of a problem, which I think is a real issue with a lot of tech forward companies or tech adjacent companies. Oh, we've got this really great tool, this AI tool. Like, how do we use it? And then you come up with this very just, ridiculous narrative as to why you matter.
That kind of reminds me of Silicon Valley, like just that show as a whole, just like that basic premise is like, we have this, what should we solve? Should we make it a black box hidden in the back of a data center?
Exactly.
Or should it create Web 3.0? We'll figure that out later.
We'll figure it out. Just get the funding and get the solution out there.
Exactly.
And so, I took time off, and that allowed me to completely just not think about things. So when something unconventional came to me, like the Oatly opportunity, which I had used Oatly, or that sounds like I was using drugs. I had Oatly products.
I was a heavy Oatly user before.
Just
had to take a break from it. I'm back on the stuff.
I'm still chasing the high from the first time I had the non-dairy frozen dessert bar.
I mean, it's good stuff.
It really is. So my daughter loves the ice cream bars. So, I had an opportunity to talk to them, and I realized that they were so completely unconventional. And I was like, okay, this is kind of, Oatly was the job I feel as I had always been searching for. I just didn't know it at the time. And when the opportunity came, so the woodworking gave me an opportunity to just completely disconnect. I consulted to a couple of companies that mattered a little bit, but I got completely off the roller coaster. And that allowed me to kind of figure out what I really wanted to do moving forward.
Yeah. Speaking of Oatly's marketing as a whole, if people are following Oatly's marketing communications are kind of weird. What's the deal with that? They're different.
Yeah. I think to fully understand where Oatly has evolved as a brand, you got to go back to, probably 10, 12 years ago. Oatly was a small regional Swedish oat milk company founded in a university in Lund, Sweden.
Okay.
And they hired a man named Tony Peterson to be their next CEO. And Tony, in turn, brought on board a friend of his and a guy that I know for a while named John Schoolcraft, who is my boss. Hi, John. John is just an advertising genius at the end of the day. And they wanted to completely re-engineer. How do you take something like a university-born Swedish oat milk company and make it into a global phenomenon? And they decided that they weren't going to act like a food company.
Was that the goal? Like, was it like, let's make it a global, I guess we should make this a global phenomenon?
I think it naturally went from that point. I don't know if that was always the goal, but I do think the goal was to open it up to a larger group of people. Like at the end of the day,
global. Yeah.
when the vast majority of the world's population is lactose intolerant and we're shoving cow dairy into people's gullets, there's an addressable
Might
audience,
be an opportunity here.
Yeah.
To help out.
So their desire was to not make another food company, and that is very much in our DNA. We had meetings the other day saying, like, if we are dangerously close to becoming yet another food company, and we got to stop that. At the end of the day, we have to think different and become kind of like a cultural touchstone as well.
Help me unpack that a little bit. Like, what is the food company? What are the things about a food company that you're trying to avoid?
I think it really, food company / big company, right? At the end of the day, I've worked at large companies, which are just the most soul sucking experience on the planet, right? Where you have to go through approvals and, we should message test things and like, what does the data say? And like all that, rather than just being like, insert yourself in the conversation. No meetings needed, overall, no, just overkill. No cycles of approvals, no like taking things back and refining it and then launching it. Just get in the middle of it, and find a way to really talk with an authentic voice in a way that will resonate with people. And you look at like the large companies, the wood milk thing, perfect example. That was we think that the world might need to hear like a satire. We're going to create a viral video.
You know how many times I've heard that requested when, from people talking to us about video production. Yeah. Let's make I saw a viral video recently. We should do that. And then go. What do you guys got?
It's real simple, right? All you need to do is just shoot a video, a man on the street video, and like you're done, right? Gold.
Millions of views.
Millions and millions of clicks and views. So, the desire was always to be different. And quirky and go left when people would think you'd go right. And also to be like predictably unpredictable. At the end of the day, I think all of the things that we're doing, I've been at the company for about a year and a half now. The meetings that we have are hilarity, where it's just a matter of like, okay, we've got this idea. How do we make it even more ridiculous? That sort of stuff. At the end of the day, because you want to get people to know about you and then try. And if they try us, then at the end of the day, I think a lot of our work is done because we make a really great set of products for people that aren't just vegan or vegetarians. A lot of people who buy our products are flexitarians or meat eaters as well. They just want something that's a little bit different and probably a little bit better for them. So that's really where a lot of this comes from at the end of the day. It's just to be a little bit different, be predictably unpredictable, and insert ourselves in conversations in a way that don't seem very, very, trite.
Sure. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I really like about the stuff that Oatly puts out into the world and the voice is, I think Oatly breaks the fourth wall a lot, right? Like, and you can see that in billboards, you can see that in like social media. You can see that on websites. You even have a newsletter called Spam.
Mhm.
Just calling it spam.
Mhm.
You know, what's like, is that, obviously that's intentional, but is that something you guys talk a lot about it, and like kind of what's the deal there?
The creative department is very much at the heart of everything that we do. It's almost like a creative led company in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, what are the quirky ways? Like, who would launch a newsletter and then use, we're listed on the NASDAQ. And so we get the NASDAQ tower. We, as part of our deal with them, like we get space on that.
Uh-huh.
Who the hell uses the NASDAQ's tower space to announce a newsletter that isn't even available yet, but just it's coming. Just that sort of stuff. I think
Right.
that really exemplifies the ethos of who we are and what we do. Again, it's about having fun in a lot of ways too. And so, spam, just our advertising, our we have a global content studio, if you will, that creates amazing videos. Like we took over a restaurant in Louisiana a couple months ago and swapped in Oatly for any dairy. So like you had, crawfish pasta, but made with Oatly. And we went around and filmed people's reactions. And I think the other thing too is we don't just show the good stuff. We show the people who are revolted by our stuff as well, because that
In the videos?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
where we're real, or people like Oatly, is that sort of like hummus? No, but thank you.
We'll be using it.
But that also shows like when it hits, when people are like, oh, this is amazing. That's really good. We did it last year in the US, where our team traveled around to various state fairs and gave out free ice cream bars to people and had them try it. But the whole premise was like, the whole, a lot of those videos are like, what if I told you that there was no, dairy in that, but like, what if I told you there was no crab in that ice cream bar? And so
Right.
just going down that, taking and turning it on its side. And the responses that we get to those things are really amazing. We release a series of videos called Will It Swap, where we go and meet with people. We had a professional wrestler and his wife who is training to be Miss Universe. And when they're in training, they cut out dairy altogether. So they were cooking with Oatly, and he really liked it. She didn't. So, that's the sort of stuff that just shows like a real genuineness to what we do. It isn't
For sure.
manufactured, it isn't trite. So that's really at the heart of everything we want to do.
Yeah, I like that, walking that line between authenticity or genuineness and levity and quirkiness, right? Like it's still authentic, it's still something that is true. You're showing the bad with the good, but it's also like fun and funny and entertaining. And I think that's one of the things that like really always drew me to Oatly and like wanting to talk to you about this stuff, like Fun Guy Media. That's what we're trying to walk that line with our clients too, and we're trying to find ways to bring levity and like make it entertaining while still being authentic and genuine. And so I always use Oatly as an example at ways that like, look at what other companies are doing. Look what can be done. It doesn't have to be done this way, the way that it's always been done.
Yeah, just do it different and do it original. Yeah. Oatly and the Oatly creative department really kind of set in motion a series of events that have created a world where people see that it's okay to do things differently in a way that is not manufactured at all.
Right. And I think too, you can also kind of spot it when it's a little conjured up. When it is a little like, when you're trying a little too hard to be something that you're not, So I think that there is that fine line though, right, between authenticity and I feel like people can sniff it out. Like, and they'll sniff it out more as people start to try whatever the new thing is, and try too hard to be different. Even
that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, don't insult the audience. The audience, people are smart, and so don't insult them by trying to spoon feed them something that is completely different. That works for your infant child when you tell them that it's when you're trying to feed them vegetables. It doesn't work for people who have purchasing power. At the end of the day, don't insult them. And
I've noticed I've had a lot of success with our infant child, and I've been like kind of my ego's been a little boosted. But you're right, it doesn't cross over to clients as well.
And by the way, that comes to an end very quickly and very suddenly. So just prepare yourself for disappointment.
All right, well, enjoy it while it lasts, I guess.
We just bought our daughter loves strawberries, and we just bought a couple of quarts of strawberries, and then she informed me last night, I don't like strawberries. And I said, well, what do I do with all these strawberries?
Well,
so,
they're all, I guess you're going to have some strawberries to eat.
Yeah. Well,
and you know, what we're talking about, the using the F-bomb here, I would be remiss not to mention that, you know, Oatly publicizes mistakes and failures through a designated site called fuckoatly.com, which is also very interesting, but also super fun. It sounds a little self-deprecating.
Yeah.
But what's the idea behind that?
By the way, not only is there fuck Oatly, but there's fuck Oatly, and then there's fuck Oatly. So
all created by Oatly, or is there other people now?
Several. It goes down several. You got to go all the way down to the rabbit hole. And
that is a deep rabbit hole.
I suggest people follow the rabbit hole all the way down to the end.
Okay. Little Alice in Wonderland situation here.
Pretty much. Fuck Oatly really kind of was a great idea for us to put into place all the things that people were nailing us on. And you know, it's also, we're done kind of saying everything we need to say about certain stuff. You know, taking an investment from, you know, a private equity firm, or campaigns that we've had along the way where people just bring it up all the time. And it's, you know, one, I think in a very Oatly way, obviously. Sure. Let's talk about it. We're not afraid of anything. We'll talk about it. In fact, you know what? We love our fans and our haters equally. So we're putting this all together in one spot so people don't have to do their research. We're doing it for them. But also, at the end of the day, it is a useful tool for us. If we ever get any questions about these things, we can just point people to fuck Oatly and say, we've said everything we need to say. You want to comment from us about this? It's right there.
Yeah, we got it.
So go through it. And then we realized that, like, then, okay, let's have fun. So, okay. Well, what if there are people who really hate fuck Oatly? Okay, well, we should fuckoatly.com. And then, but what if there are people that are offended by fuck Oatly? Well, then fuck.
So are these also comments about fuck Oatly? Those go on fuck Oatly.
Please register your dislike of the previous iteration of the website. And you're allowed to vote upwards of multiple times to really register your disgust. So it's a totally official counter at the bottom of the website. Of people registering their hatred, and then at the very end, you can actually call a number and register a comment about it as well. And then, you know, it's really funny. And also, this shows there was somebody out there in the creative world that said, you know, I think there's whatever permutation, how many numbers that we have of fuck Oatly. He wrote, like, it's a shame that they didn't register like fuck Oatly.com. So we found his website and we registered fuck and then his website. And then we pointed that website to his comment on Twitter about it to have fun as well. That was like a no-brainer. Somebody's like, well,
easy.
Respond to it. It's like, yeah, we should respond to it. Like, it was done in a lighthearted way. So he's got his own website. So let's, you know, so I think our comment was like, same as like, you probably should have registered fuck and his website. And then we hyperlinked to it, and then it went to his comment about it. And, you know, it's just to have fun and, you know, engage people. You're not going to really see that necessarily from traditional companies.
No, you're not. Well, and I just want to be like a fly on the wall in those meetings that you guys have when you're talking about this stuff, because like, it just sounds so freaking fun and ridiculous.
Yeah, you know, I think it's okay, we've got this really ridiculous idea. How can we make it even more ridiculous?
Right.
Okay, cool. And then it almost, I almost feel like sometimes it might be like the writer's room at Saturday Night Live in a lot of ways, where people are just like throwing things out to try and make it even more ridiculous and get other people to laugh. And if it lands, then it's great. So it's a really wonderful place to work because it's different than any place else that I've worked in my career, where being a jackass is me being a jackass for once in my career is actually a benefit.
It's like adding to your career and advancing you in life. That's like professional jackass. You can now put that on your experience section.
And my new LinkedIn header. Yeah.
Right above woodworking student.
Perfect.
It just gets wackier and wackier.
A professional jackass in the first year I entered the workforce. So
right.
But a professional jackass for
you've been there, you've actually done this this is your first rodeo.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of off-topic questions to ask you here. Okay. What is one thing about you that your colleagues might find interesting or even surprising to find out?
I am the most boring person on the planet.
Hell yeah. They already knew that.
There are always there are these things that like 2 truths and a lie that you always.
Yep.
But,
what's your go-to?
I tell people one of these things is not true.
Okay.
I'm an award-winning DJ. I'm an award-winning firefighter, or I'm an award-winning poet.
Well, you definitely look like a poet who is also doing moonlighting as a firefighter.
You nailed it. I was a firefighter of the year 1992, volunteer firefighter of the year 1992.
Really?
And in high school, I won a governor's award for poetry. But I was a DJ in college, but I won no awards.
You didn't win.
So
you did all of them exceedingly well.
I worked the overnight shift with a buddy of mine so that we could hold radio contests for the free concert tickets. And boy, wouldn't you know, people who lived on our floor in our dorm won those tickets all the time.
Every single time.
Man. You know, all of our friends on our floor, on the 8th floor of Ellicott Hall at the University of Maryland, were listening to the college radio station at 2 a.m.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, avid fans. But what a small world, right? To have them all be in the same floor.
It's just so great. It was wonderful. Yeah.
What is a podcast, book, or article, or really any source of knowledge that we got to check out?
Great question. Nothing business related. I view the world of like podcasts and everything just as like pure. 2 podcasts that I listen to the most regularly are Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, just because I adore it. And Chicagoland area Sound Opinions as well. Those are the 2 that I listen to just as pure escapism. If you spend all of most of your day doing business, don't listen to business stuff other than the Go Fungo podcast. At the end of the day, I don't really do that. So I like to view that as like an escapism world. So those are the 2 that are must-haves for me every time. Yeah.
Brendan, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thank you. And I hope you and everybody who watches this runs out immediately and buys more Oatly products.
Fungal.